I was heading towards a breakdown by 1,000 little cuts until I was just bleeding out everywhere. I was just speeding up and speeding up and speeding up until life decided to deliver me some really hard shit. The day of the fires, I was leading 100,000 people through a water fast. When I spotted it on my back hill burning my neighborhood, it was 10 o'clock in the morning. And at noon that day, I was supposed to lead through the second day of a 3-day water fast. There are embers flying through the air. There are houses catching on fire as I'm leaving. And I'm literally on the phone with my husband going, I'm just going to get to a parking lot so I can lead the water fast. By the end of the week, I've got 100,000 people on a webinar. And I paused and I said, I'm not okay. And the freaking chat blew up. And it was like, I'm not okay either. Thank you for saying you're not okay. I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I felt like somebody had a vice on my body. And I was breathing like shallow. The anxiety that came crushing in on my sides that I lived with for about 3 months after the fires was an indicator to me of massive misalignment.
Thank you so much for being here with me, Mindy. I'm very excited for this conversation.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here as well.
Of course. Okay, so I know we've talked about and stayed in communication during your last year. That was a really hard year for you. And
yeah, thanks.
Yes, a bit.
That's an understatement, but go ahead, keep going.
A bit of a breakdown, but maybe, like you've reworded it, a breakthrough. You're breaking open into a breakthrough.
Breaking open. Yeah, that's good. I'm just, your interpretation of it is interesting to me, so keep going.
Yeah, well, we love wordplay.
Yeah.
A powerful reframe. And, what I really want to do in our time together today is using some of the concepts that are in the book, The Connection Code, the different parts, walking people through misalignment, losing ourselves, breaking open, having these breakdowns into how do we become realigned? How do we get back connected with ourselves when we lose ourselves, whether it's in the big, huge moments like you had in your life, or maybe it's in the daily moments where we lose ourselves, those moments where we get in our head and we need to get back into our body. It's really a lot of the same principles apply. And then one of my favorite topics is how do we stay there? Right? We now, by the end of this conversation, people will have a better idea of how to get back into alignment, how to get back connected with ourselves, but how do we stay there when life happens? How do we stay there when the people around us are maybe not loving our new routines or habits, the things that we're doing that we're finally sticking up for who we came here to be? Right. And I think that's one of the most important parts, because we can all sit here and have these great conversations on podcasts or, go to events, retreats, and have these great concepts. But then we go home and it's like, how do I actually do it? And so we give up. Yeah. And so I really forget. We forget. Yeah. Or we don't have the support, or we don't have the handbook. And I think one of my favorite things about what we're going to talk about today is although there's a book and there's resources, the book is you. The connection code is you. And so this is teaching us how to go in. So it doesn't matter what step 4 was. Right. It's getting back to us, because then the answer comes through us.
Oh, I love that. I'm like, wait a second. I want to now interview you. Like that. I think that's just really beautifully said, though. I really love that. So
good. So, okay. Last year was a big year. Let's start with the misaligned version of Mindy. The lost version of Mindy, and maybe how it began and how you started before these big events that happen in your life, because there were things happening before, right? And that was just kind of the hay that broke the camel's back, which could have been those big events, and honestly could have been just continued small things that stacked up over time that happened to all of us.
Yeah. Have you ever heard that? They talk about this in relationships, like relationships die by 1,000 little cuts. I feel like that was my life. Like I was heading towards a breakdown by 1,000 little cuts until I was just bleeding out everywhere.
Which is so true. It's like, I think we put so much focus on the big that we forget the subtle in both ways. Yeah. The way it can break us down over time and the way it can get us back.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, then you can put 1,000 Band-Aids on it. You know, I was thinking as you were saying that, honestly, I think the breakdown started in my late 30s when I had the jellyfish situation. And not to go into all the details, but I nearly lost my life and had a near-death experience. And I came out of that. I swam, just for people listening, I swam into a pile of Portuguese man-o-war. They wrapped all around me. I was on vacation and we were snorkeling, and I spent the day in hospital and thought at one point I was losing my life, and went down the whole tunnel, had the life review, everything. So when I came out of that, I had one thought, which was, why am I alive? Like, why did I stay alive? And at that time, from my 37-year-old lens, the only thing I could think was I was the primary breadwinner in my family and I had 2 little kids. And I was like, you stayed alive because you're the primary breadwinner. What would they have done without you? And so I doubled down on work. And I will safely say became an incredible workaholic. And I just worked all through my 40s, like in just at an extreme level, and 7 days a week, never stopping. And so then I decided I wanted out of my clinic. And I thought that was the problem. This is interesting, right? Because we always think then there's something else is the problem. Like, oh, I'm so stressed out because I need to get out of my clinic.
Right. And it's always something outside of us
That's
instead
right.
of looking in.
Yeah.
I'll fix this thing.
Yeah, I just thought about that right now. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have the burden of my clinic off of my back.
Right.
As much as I love my patients, I don't want the business of it. And I'm going to go over here and write books and do videos, and that will be my life. And when Fast Like a Girl came out, that life started. Like, literally, like, I had no idea. I think about this a lot too. Like, I had no idea that book was going to do what it did. And that it would touch as many people and that it would open as many doors. So it felt like once Fast Like a Girl came out, which was 3 years ago, that my life just sped up. And I was on planes, I was doing conferences, I was on podcasts, I was just going wherever people wanted me to talk about this book. And the book sales kept coming in, and the money came in from that, and then the future book deals. And I was like, literally, did you ever, this is what it felt like. This visual in my head that's making me laugh. Did you, there was a ride, I don't know if it was at Disneyland or maybe Magic Mountain, which is an LA place. It's called the Log Jammer. And you're like on water and you're going and the water's blowing, blowing in your face and you're getting all wet. And when you're a kid, exactly. Yeah, that was me, like on a log ride with the water coming in my face. I was like, ah! And it was so mixed. And I want to point this out because it was so mixed because there was so much good. So many things I had spent my whole life wanting, book deals, advanced career moves. The amount of money that poured in was just like insane.
Right. So it's that high.
Yeah.
That rush.
But then
you wanted.
I wanted that. But then I lost myself. There was nothing grounded me. Nothing, like I was just speeding up and speeding up and speeding up until life decided to deliver me some really hard shit. And the first was I lost a dear friend, TJ, at 52. He was a chiropractor and he was done serving his people that day. And it was a Monday, and he was going to give a talk on health in his clinic. And he bent down to pick up a pen off the floor, and he laid down and died. Like, I don't, that blew my mind. I was like, he was so healthy. He was so vibrant. How could that happen? And I honestly was decimated. I mean, you watched me through that.
It's like a brother to you, too.
He was like a brother. We ran our businesses together. We cheered each other on. And he was like a major male advocate in my life for everything I was doing. And so that started, like, now I'm on the log jammer ride, and the water's coming in my face so much that I can barely breathe. And I could feel myself kind of wanting to slip away. Not like I want to kill myself, but like I can't be a part of society right now because I'm so overstimulated and I'm grieving so hard for this human. So that was bad enough. And then 3 months later, the LA fires happened. And I think what was interesting about that and what I want to make applicable to people is that the fires, I won't go into all the details, but it was 3 days of being at the epicenter of this LA fire and not knowing if my house was burned, just running from place to place to place. And after the fires, what happened was my body now was telling me we're not okay. So I don't,
Meaning you were in, like, your body was literally running for its life. That's what you mean?
yeah,
Like high cortisol every day.
like it felt like, I don't know if you've ever gone through this, like we can be burnt out and out of alignment, to use your terms, which I love. And it's all in our head.
Right.
We're like, oh, I can't take my husband. I can't take my children. I have too much to do. And we're just still in our head. And I used to walk around for many years and ask myself, what does burnout look like? Like, how do I know when I've officially burnt out and I need to stop? But I was making these decisions from my head. After the fire, I felt like somebody had a vice on my body and I was breathing like shallow. The anxiety that came crushing in on my sides that I lived with for about 3 months after the fires was an indicator to me of massive misalignment.
Well, it's interesting because I think a lot of times as active people, when we have the busy mind, we go to our bodies for safety, right? We move our bodies. That gets us out of our head and in a lot of ways can regulate and realign us.
Yeah.
But when your body is not the safe place anymore, for people that do have chronic anxiety, that's what I'm hearing. It's like, how do you've got to clear this out first to make it the safe space again.
Yeah. That's really well said. Like, there's nowhere to run.
There's nowhere to run. We literally have to teach the nervous system again through these small things because you are safe now, right?
Totally safe.
And I know part of what we geek out on that we love is the nervous system is so amazing because it can be very reactive and it can dictate how we feel in our head. But as we know, it's malleable.
Yeah.
And through small, frequent, consistent habits, we can retrain the amygdala, we can retrain the security guard to tell our body we're safe here.
Right.
And all of that physiology falls into place.
That's right.
Wow. All right, I'll get back to the episode in just a second. That voice in your head is not just your thoughts, it's your nervous system. It's wired by your parents, your past environment, your teachers and preachers, which means a lot of what's running your life isn't even yours. And that's why you can be doing everything right, checking the boxes, showing up for everyone, but still feel overwhelmed, reactive, and like your life doesn't feel like your own. This is exactly what we're going to unpack together. When you order my book, The Connection Code, which is out now, you'll get access to a live 1-hour webinar with me. We're going to take this concept, the inner voice, the patterns, your nervous system, and actually break it down so you can see what has been running your life so that you can finally understand why you get stuck in the same patterns, why you react the way that you do in real time, and how to start shifting it without fighting yourself. Because awareness is the shift. When you can see what's happening inside your nervous system, in that inner voice, it becomes so much easier to change it. You still get everything done. You'll still be the same person, but the way that you think, feel, and move through your life, that is what changes who you be. Order your book now, check the links below, and I'll send you a ticket to this live incredible webinar. Now back to the episode.
Yeah, and I think about it like, if I think I've learned a lot about trauma over the last year, I've studied a lot on it and trying to understand it. And if I think what happened is in the jellyfish situation, I think I had to make my life mean something because why else was I left behind?
Which is so interesting on its own.
Right.
That could be a whole book on its own.
It could be.
Why can't it just be that we're enough? Why is it? And I wonder, for men, I think they would absolutely have that too. But what I hear is like, who am I here to take care of? Who am I here to serve? How am I here to contribute? And that's my purpose and that's my worth. And it's something, again, outside of us. It's always something outside of us that in the past has helped us feel grounded or important or regulated.
Yeah.
And it's also the things outside of us that are out of our control.
That's right.
Right? And so this is the game changer. And I know we're getting there over time is you've created the connection within you. Yeah. You've created the safe harbor.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what's going on outside.
Yeah,
of you.
and I definitely have to give you some credit for this because you've said certain things to me over the years of just like, where are you in this? Where are you in this? And I don't.
Why are you not worried about disappointing yourself?
Yeah, that was. I tell that story all the time about when you said to me, it's so surprising to me that you're so concerned about disappointing everybody else, but you have no problem disappointing yourself. So what I've thought about, because it was a beautiful way that a friend was like, wake up, and you really hit me in a good spot. And I realized that if I go back to the jellyfish situation, when I tell that story, you never hear me say I stayed alive for myself. I always say I stayed alive for my family. But I think that's metaphorical that a lot of women do, that we get so much meaning in this role in our family or our roles that we play in life. And we enjoy those roles, and we feel useful in those roles, that we completely lose ourselves.
Yes, and I think just to touch on, because I think anyone faced in that situation, if anyone has had a near-death experience, or for those of us who haven't, if we put ourselves in that situation, it would be our family that would make us come back, right? That is
But
our.
why wouldn't it be ourselves?
Well, what I would say is, let's not fight that that's what comes up, but why can't we make it both? Right? Because I think that is a macro example of what plays out on the daily.
Yeah.
It is we value ourselves, and it's in tethered to our career and our family, and it's outside of us.
Yeah.
So you think about when a day in your work doesn't go well, right? How does that affect our worth? How does that affect how we feel inside? It has complete control over us. Or for me as a mom with young kids, like, I'm all excited to pick them up. They get in the car, they've had a crappy day, and they show up in a certain way. And how does that dictate how we feel about ourselves? So I don't think this is like a either or. I think we get to both and here.
Yeah.
It should be enough that we're here just for ourselves, but let's be real and let's bridge the gap between.
The thing is that we don't get praised for taking care of ourselves. So we're not getting the dopamine high of other people telling us how amazing we are, or how or our kids, and this is the great thing about being a mom. You don't typically have your kids tell you that you're doing such a good job as a mom until they're later.
I love everything you made for me for dinner tonight, Mom. You must have worked so hard.
So if I think about my 37-year-old self, she didn't know how to take care of herself. She didn't know how to please herself. She didn't know how to stay alive for herself. So in that moment, I couldn't stay alive for myself because I didn't have a relationship with myself. And I think when we talk about misalignment, I did not have a relationship with me outside of my family or outside of my career. So at the moment of death, I chose to stay alive for something else.
Which can lead to resentment.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, totally.
And I will ask you now, just going back for a minute, this is really important, because you said we don't get rewarded for taking care of ourselves. We don't get that dopamine hit from the external. 100% true. I will ask you today, as today's woman, do you get a dopamine hit when you take care of yourself?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes,
so
everybody needs to know that.
There is a code and a formula, because we get it from ourselves.
Yeah. This might be helpful, and I'm trying to think of busy lives and how people would do this, but I've been really recently on such a path to try to get people to stop their rushing woman lifestyle before they break. I wish I had stopped before, and you and I have talked about that. And I think one of the interesting pieces is that my breakdown was so bad that I had to completely remove myself from everybody. So I went and lived in an Airbnb by myself for 4 months. That was a problem for my marriage. That was my team didn't know what was going on. I was writing Age Like a Girl, but really what I was doing is trying to feel my own energy, because I had given so many pieces of myself away to so many people. I couldn't even find me. And I don't know if you remember the story that even before the fires, I was just struggling. And my sister came to me and said, how do I have a friendship with you? I feel like you and I are getting more distant. And I paused for a moment, and I was like, I can't even tell you what a friendship would look like with me, because I don't have a friendship with me. So I need to go get a friendship with me, and then I can come back and answer that. And then I went on to tell her, what I do need is a big sister. If you could be a big sister for me right now, because I am drowning in life. And and this was before the fires.
Wow.
But that was my first step at starting to tell people what I needed, and for me to acknowledge that worked so hard. I had lost myself, and I was so misaligned. I had lost myself trying to please everybody that I didn't even have a relationship with me. And I don't know if you're finding that in your community, but I think that's a lot of
I
women's
think
stories.
it's very common. I think it's very common. And this is where I feel like, women around my age are getting handed down wisdom through conversations. Me and our friendship, there's so many things that you've taught me, like do this now. And I think, the perimenopause and menopause movement is teaching us all, like, start this now. It's really important. And so we're hearing things early on in life to start to carve this path. I want to talk about something that you talked about in the misalignment, and then I want to go towards what you just said, creating that friendship with yourself, and how do we do that, right? But before I go there, something that we talked about that I think is a really important concept, the be, do, have, versus have, do, be. And you brought this up when you were saying, once I fill in the blank, then I'll be happy, then I'll be calm. And this is one of my favorite mantras, principles. This is a whole chapter in part 1, because this is a foundation for why we do what we do and why we look at the external as having so much control over us. And we've talked about this in our conversations, and I just think this is really important to help break down, is that when we look at our lives from have, do, be, right? Once I have or don't have the thing, then I'll do these things, right? Once I don't have the clinic, then I'll get to do all the fun, then I'll be happy. And it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
In any aspect of our lives, it's be, do, have. And so as we're working on getting back into alignment, the questions, and we'll get into this, but like you start to make your North Star. Who is it that I want to be? I want to be my own friend. Okay. So what does someone start to do in order to be your own friend again? Because when we can work on that first, that's identity-based choices. That's in a world of massive to-do lists and everyone out there telling us the health hacks of more to-dos, self-care included, health included.
Biohacking, include all that industry, the wellness industry.
Like, I have enough on my to-do list. Don't give me a 1-hour routine or tell me
Don't make me count my protein.
Oh my God. All of it. The macros, Greek yogurt, like the protein is having a moment. The fat is having a moment. Like, just focus on, how do I want to be? I want to be my own friend again. Okay. What would someone who's a friend to themselves do? And when I start to live myself from that place, then I will have, and it just comes through you.
I would say, though, part of my breaking point is I didn't know what I wanted to be.
Because you're so disconnected from yourself.
So I think that's the part that shocked me, is on paper, you could look at my life. I mean, I had so many people come up to me after the first year of Fast Like a Girl and be like, oh, I'm so excited for you. And yet what the world was seeing and what was happening underneath was completely disconnected, because I hadn't had a plan of what I wanted to be in this new experience of being an author and being out there. And I think I've told you this, that I was really nervous because I didn't have a plan for what I wanted to be, that I would become addicted to the likes and the follows and the money and the book deals and the book sales, and that would define me. I had enough understanding to be like, I don't want that to define me, but I didn't have another thing that I wanted to define me.
To ground and anchor. Yeah, for sure.
So I think that's something, like, you got to know what you want to be. And, in my book, in Age Like a Girl, this is a big thing I explored, was that when we go, and you and I've talked about this, when I had to literally go back to my little girl and be like, who was she?
That's such a good portal.
Right. Like, what was her essence? Because I had a happy childhood. Now, I know not everybody had that, but she was like, she had a bravado, and she like played, baseball in the streets with the boys, and she had confidence and clarity. And then somewhere along the line, the world told her to be something different. And so it literally took this breakthrough that we're talking about with the fires and all that for me to have to pause and go back and be like, okay, that was a version of me I liked. All the other versions of me, I don't know. I don't know who she was. She was doing like checking the boxes. Oh, you need me to get a college degree? Oh, okay, I'll go become a doctor. Okay, I get married now? Okay, I'll get married. Oh, I should buy a house? Okay, check. I should have kids?
And
do. And I remember going to my parents in my middle 30s, who I love my parents and we're good friends. And I remember saying, I'm really depressed and like I did everything you guys told me to do and I'm not happy. And my dad looks at me, he goes, we didn't tell you to do those. And I thought, oh shit, society did. The culture did.
Right. And we let it, right?
Yeah.
Don't you think a little bit? It's like there is some sort of, and I don't know where this comes from. I don't know the I don't know like the science behind this. Maybe you do. But you know, society is the same around us. You hear one thing and I hear another. And so there's a bit of like our own message and our own closed captions that we co-create with society. This is what society told me to do. This is what I heard. This is what I read, you know?
But I did it to be accepted and loved.
Do you think that's at the core?
I think that's the core for everybody. Like, if I get this degree, then will, everybody love me. And then you sort of look around, you're like, who's everybody? Like, well, like, and then like,
when are they coming?
Yeah, when are they coming to give me an award?
Like, cheer me up.
Yes, exactly.
It gets really lonely at the top. We've had that conversation.
Yes,
you said that too.
It does.
You get up there and you're like, wait.
Yeah.
What? I thought this was going to feel different.
Yeah. Well, because at the top, let's talk about that for a moment. When Fasika Girl, I mean, to date, it's been out 3 years this December, and it's sold 1.3 million copies, which is like a unicorn.
Hey, good job. Right.
Well,
that, and
yeah, but to your point, then I didn't know, I had completely lost myself, and it wasn't the thing that made me happy.
Right.
So you're right. We have it in reverse, but the part that I think is so interesting and applies to everyone, and especially to women, is how easy we get into the wave of life that we're supposed to look a certain way, that we're supposed to act a certain way, that we get applauded along the way for all of that. And what I had to do after the breakdown this year was go back to applauding for myself.
I love that. So let's use that as the jumping point for part 2. It's getting back into alignment, because then it doesn't matter. Yeah. Right? It doesn't matter if you get to the top of the mountain. And I know, a lot of what you're talking about is on your big platform and big podium. And maybe that part doesn't apply to everyone, but I know you know this and you've said this, like these concepts really do apply to pretty much every woman. Yeah. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is every person out there that you're looking at that you might think, oh my God, look at them, they're doing this bigger and better. This is the human experience. These are the threads and undertones that truly connect us all. And these are the things that we all hear now how important community is. I think this is how you co-create community, because this is what people truly connect on. This is what we have in common.
Yeah. Yeah.
So getting back into alignment, there are a couple things that I heard you say. It's one, creating the friendship with yourself. So I would love to know, today's woman that's maybe in the thick of the busyness of life, career, kids, all of that. Now, from your perspective and your wisdom, how does someone like that create that? And what I also love that you shared is I think if we have nowhere to start or nowhere to begin, it's reconnecting with your younger self. Yeah. And we'll talk about that in a bit with our life.
Yeah, we can talk. So for me, I had a friend say to me in February, as I was struggling, I was really struggling. The anxiety was so bad, and it was maybe a month after the fires. She said, Mindy, I think you might have some codependent tendencies. And I was like, I thought codependent was for people who were like children of alcoholics, people who had no self-esteem and were like super needy. Like, I never thought of myself as a codependent, but then she phrased it for me. And it was that when other people around you are upset or they're acting a certain way, you change yourself to calm them. So let's use both my husband and my daughter as an example. Instead of creating a fight with my husband, if I saw he was upset, I wanted to de-escalate his upsetness. So I would adapt and do whatever I could to make him feel good so he could stop being angry so that I could feel better.
So it's a total loss of you,
Yeah.
of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did that with my daughter too. Like, oh, you're having it when she was a teenager, you're upset. Okay, let me make your life better because then you will calm down and then I can feel better, which is not a clean interaction.
Yeah.
So what I had to do, because I'd never done this, I'd never lived on my own, I hadn't spent long periods on my own, I went and lived on my own for 4 months and wrote that book. And it was the best thing I ever did. It was really challenging for my husband because he didn't know what was going on and I didn't know what was going on. But now I look back and I realize I had to do it so I could feel my own energy so that when the anxiety kicked in, I knew it was mine. And so then I would go, okay, what's the thought you're thinking right now that's producing this feeling in your body? And I would say, that's a big thing. Don't forget to bring your body into this decision because the body is going to tell you if you're acting in alignment with yourself.
Your nervous system is the way.
Yeah.
It's the guide.
So I could start to take that crushing anxiety that I was feeling that I didn't know what it was. And then when I isolated myself and I didn't talk to anybody, that started to go away. And then I would go into a situation like a relationship with somebody, or I would go into a room, or I'd get in some kind of like I'd get in traffic or somewhere, and all of a sudden the anxiety would come back. And I'd be like, okay, wait, what is that? What am I doing right now that's out of alignment with me?
Can we talk about this for a
Yeah,
minute?
it's really big. That was a really big part of my healing.
Okay, and this is huge. So this is, we've had this conversation before about power over versus power from within. Okay, and so when we think about these feelings like anxiety, fear, guilt, shame, any of them, any of like the dark, shadowy emotions, I think what a lot of us have been taught to do, because we've been praised for doing this, is we squash them down. We hide them, right? We show up as our happy, glittery self.
Right.
And I think in a lot of spiritual books I've read also, it's about powering over and getting beyond the ego. The ego is our inner narrator. There's a part of our brain called the amygdala, as you know, and I talk about this, the amygdala and the ego. And this is so important. This is such an important piece of the relationship with yourself. The amygdala is our security guard that keeps our body safe, right? I was just in a fire. I had to run. Like the amygdala is that survival center. The ego keeps our identity safe. And so what we've been taught to do is when we have these dark emotions and shadows, like quiet them down, like hide them, power over them. But you think about this, like I am so sick of guilting and shaming and hiding pieces of ourselves.
Yeah, right.
And that part is always there.
Yep.
And no wonder we're exhausted if we're hiding half of it. Like we're not coming with our whole self.
Yeah.
And so what I talk about in that chapter and what I hear that you did is instead of powering over, you're creating a relationship with.
Yeah.
You're asking questions.
Yep.
What is this anxiety here to tell me?
Yeah.
Right? And all we got to do, you don't have to have the answer. You just got to sit with it. Nancy Levine, in her book, she talks about when we push these emotions down, they're not going away. It's a beach ball under the ocean. It's going to just jack you in the chin at the worst of times.
Yeah.
So it's always there. And I think one of the biggest pieces to understand in this is that we don't have to fix it. We just have to create space. And so that conversation with the ego, instead of pushing it down, we're not powering over. We are literally igniting. You say this all the time, the power from within.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is why the body for me had to come in to play. Now, I didn't ask for crushing body anxiety. That happened because of the fire, because of the trauma from running from fire. And honestly, I didn't know if I was going to make it out of my neighborhood alive. I thought I might burn that day. So that you can imagine my nervous system was like, keep going, keep running, keep running. And so it kept creating this like stress response in me to keep running. So I had to sit down in a room by myself and have a conversation with it. Like, tell me what you're trying to keep me safe from. And you know what was so interesting? It told me like my whole life. Like it started to reveal to me, well, you weren't safe here and, you know, you weren't your authentic self here. And I started to get memories. This is another really interesting one and we should talk about it. When your body and brain starts to sense that it's safe to reveal things to you, it will take memories that you did not know, and it will start to give it to you. So in this 4-month period, as I was trying to understand what the anxiety was, and it was getting better and better, I started having memories. So a couple memories that I had, one was I was raped in college by a frat boy rape. And I didn't remember it. And when it started to come, I started to have flashbacks in the down, in the alone. I remember that the reason I hid it is because I was drunk and I thought it was my fault. So I was like, I never told anybody the story because I thought it was my fault. But once I calmed down and I started to ask my body where it doesn't feel safe, it was like, well, because of this time. And then I had another memory of a molestation situation with my pediatrician. I don't think I ever told you about this one. It came to me as well. And I was like, wait a second, he did that thing to me. That wasn't right. And then I've recently, as I've slowed down and started to just keep this like, it's like asking your body, tell me
Like
what else.
layers.
Yeah. Tell me what else you're feeling. Cause the body sends a message up to the brain, and then the brain sends it, they're working in unison to tell you if you're safe or not.
And how you feel.
Yeah, but the body keeps the score. So the body has all the memories. So recently and I think I told you this, I had a realization that my household it was a very loving household I grew up in, but there was a lot of chaos because my sister always fought with my parents. And so I learned to not speak up for myself because I didn't want to create more, I didn't want to escalate the anger that was already going on in my household.
It's like a peacekeeper
Yeah.
in the home.
So I say all this just to say, I think if I could give people advice on that realignment, is start asking your body what it's trying to tell you. And if you sit with that and just say, okay, tell me, like the anxiety, it was like, anxiety, what are you trying to tell me? And what I learned is it was trying to tell me that I had a lifetime of not feeling safe. And I haven't addressed that.
And I think this is really interesting, you know, whether someone has experienced something like your fire. I think other people have anxiety and perhaps don't even know what it's from. Right. And so maybe it's not that fire, but maybe it's these deeper stories that have been hidden and packed away.
Yeah.
And something I get a lot when I speak to women about this it's almost like a fear of unpacking it. I'm good.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm not good, but I'm good. I don't want to know. I don't want to go there. So what would you say to that woman? Because I see you now on the other side. If you're a woman and it feels like your brain has 47 tabs open, you've got the kids asking questions, texts coming in, dinner to make, work to finish, and somehow you're still trying to think clearly, this is not a mindset issue. It is not a personality flaw. This is physiology and your nervous system stuck in urgency mode. I created this urgency reset, a simple 2-minute shift using brainwave-based tools to help your nervous system downshift so you can come back into clarity and presence. Because the goal isn't just managing the chaos, it's being present for the moments that you don't want to miss. So you don't look back later in life and realize the years with the people you love or just your own life slipped by. Click the links. This is a mini masterclass. It's like 15 minutes, and I cannot wait for you guys to check this out. Back to the episode.
Ooh. Okay. You want me to tell the honest truth?
Yes.
I would say you want to do a deep investigation before your body gets sick and makes you do a deep investigation. I don't think walking around, I'm good for decades and decades. If you, like, I think every woman should have an inquiry system that she goes through to see where she might not be good. But we live in a culture that doesn't want to know women aren't good. Like, we don't live in a culture that's like, oh, I'm sorry, you've got 2 kids and a job and you're crying, in your car, like, buck up, girl.
Right.
And I think I've told you this story. I remember one time when I was completely falling apart from trying to manage a practice and have children. And I had a Rosie the Riveter sign in my kitchen and with her little arm. And one day I looked over at her and I was like, F you, Rosie. I'm like, we can't do it all.
Yeah.
We can't do it all. So I think what I'm hoping for women is that we open up the conversation of being able to turn to loved ones. I'm not saying blabber it to everybody and say, look, I'm not okay. I'm not doing well. but I'll get okay, but I'm not doing well right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if we allow space for women to say that, then we don't have to keep repressing it down.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And I think, it's what's happening now that I see is a breaking down of the we can do it all.
Yeah.
Like that, we can be it all. I think that's how we win.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's what we bring in everything that we do. We focus on who do we want to be? How do we want to show up? What do we want this day to feel like?
Yeah.
And
yeah, no, I agree. And sometimes we have to slow down enough and listen and have a relationship with ourselves to know what we want to be.
I think most women,
Yeah.
for sure. And so what I hear in that, like say we wanted to set up a little step-by-step. Okay, what do I do? Because we are doings.
Yeah.
So this back and forth chat, right? This inner reflection and asking questions.
So
it's a huge piece.
So one thing I did, and you could do this with a lot of things, is because I was now grieving a dear friend, and I was grieving the loss of my childhood neighborhood completely burned, and the neighborhood I was living in completely burned, and I really wanted to live there. I made a date with grief every day. And every morning I got up, and I'm not joking, I played the sappiest music. And I sat and I felt that emotions. Like I can feel it now. Like I felt the loss of my friend. And I got mad at him. I was like, why'd you leave? Why'd you leave? Like I would talk to him, I would get mad at him, and then I'd think about how much he meant to me. And I didn't want to think about the memories of him, but I like made myself have that feeling. And then I thought about how sad I was that this childhood neighborhood that I adored completely burned and will never, the visual representations of my childhood, 90% are gone and they're all in my mind now. And that made me sad. So, but the date with grief gave me time to feel in a safe environment. I think you could do that with any emotion. You could have a date with peace. You could have a date with joy. But if we're doing all the time, we're missing the full life experience.
100%. Yeah, it's like an artist date, right?
Yeah.
We've read the book, but this is a date that gets you from numb to feeling again.
Yeah.
To out of your body, to disconnected with your body, to back into it.
The numb is a really good, and then let's talk about that. And like, at the end of a day, instead of feeling the stress of running a practice and coming home and taking care of children, instead of like really feeling that, I'd come home and I'd have a glass of wine. So I didn't have to feel it. And I think there's a lot as women, we push away feeling this stuff. So I want to go back to the woman who's like, well, I'm okay.
Right. But
then I would encourage you to sit with yourself and ask yourself outside of the context of anybody else, are you really okay? One of the things I did in this whole like experience, and I haven't told you this version of the story, I don't think. The day of the fires, I was leading 100,000 people through a water fast. And the fire, when I spotted it on my back hill burning my neighborhood, which I saw, it was 10 o'clock in the morning. And at noon that day, I was supposed to lead 100,000 people through the second day of a 3-day water fast.
Wow.
I'm like packing up my house, putting stuff in my car, and then exiting my neighborhood with massive amounts of traffic. There are embers flying through the air. There are houses catching on fire as I'm leaving. And I'm literally on the phone with my husband going, I'm just going to get to a parking lot so I can lead the water fast.
Oh my God.
Can you believe that? That's how conditioned I was to perform.
And I think a lot of women in some regard to that. I've got the flu, I'm throwing up, I'm blah, 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 but like, I'll be there for the bake sale.
That's right. I'll be there for the bake sale. Exactly. And I'll show up. I'll show up and I'll show you that I'm the best mom ever.
I'm fine. I'll put on my makeup.
So let me tell you what happened. And this is what I think you should do this with your book, like gather people around and start this trend, because what I did is then the next day, I still had to lead the water fast. They played a replay of me on this one, on the day, because I couldn't get, I couldn't. Of
course, yeah.
So then the next day I got on, and the next day, and the next day. By the end of the week, On the last video or last time, I've got 100,000 people on a webinar. I get done and I was like, well, thank you for putting up with the stress I've had this week. And then I paused for a moment, and it was the first time I've ever publicly been truthful, probably with myself. It might be the first time I was ever truthful with myself. And I paused and I said, I'm not okay. Like, I was like, I'm not okay. I just need you all to know I'm not okay. And they were mostly women on the call. And I was like, I have a feeling you all aren't okay either. Can you please put in the chat if you're not okay? And the freaking chat blew up. And it was like, I'm not okay either. Thank you for saying you're not okay. I'm not okay. I'm not okay.
That's what connects us.
Yeah. And then at the end, I said, but don't worry, I'm going to find it okay. But I need y'all to know that I wasn't some kind of superwoman this week. Because that's what we do a lot as women. We like try to show that we're fine. And then what we do in that is we show other women you don't show your vulnerability.
Right.
So I flipped that on its head.
And it was beautiful.
Oh, it was like, and
I heard from I got text messages from my friends that follow you that were going on and on about it.
Fascinating.
You touched people in a different way.
Yeah. So then you know what I did? I felt so liberated from telling 100,000 people I wasn't okay that I went to my parents, because I grew up in a household where it was okay. Mindy needed just to stay calm because Molly, her sister, was taking up all the oxygen in the house. And so I called them and I'm like, I just need to let you know I'm not okay. And my mom's like, okay, what can we do to help? And I'm like, nobody can help me. I have to help myself. I'm going to get myself okay, but I just need you to know I'm not okay. And then I called my kids. It was like
pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. It was almost like maybe what an alcoholic does when they finally acknowledge that they're an alcoholic and they let everybody know. I had to finally publicly announce I could no longer hold it together. But don't worry, I'd find myself, but I need you to know I'm falling apart. When I told my son, I love this. I just said, hey, honey, I just want you to know, like, I'm not going to be home for a little while. I need to go live in Santa Cruz and just be near ocean and calm myself because I'm not okay. And he said, you know what you need, Mom?
Text.
And I said, what? He goes, you need a reset.
Oh,
I was
branding.
Like, on brand. Well done, son. But I was like, I said, yeah, it shows you how much work permeated family life.
Interesting.
And I said, yes, I need a reset. But I think I'm going back to the woman who's like, everything's okay. And I'm hoping that in this conversation, she starts to admit that maybe she's not okay, because that's how she can heal. And I think as women, a lot of times we try to put on this facade that we're all good. And what that does is just create every other woman trying to do the same. Yeah. But what if we did the opposite of that? What if realignment and finding ourselves is having to put the baggage down of I'm okay and just saying I'm not okay. And what I'm thinking about that woman you're talking about that put on is, what if every day she sat with herself and talked to her body and said, okay, please tell me what I need to know. Where have I betrayed you? What traumas are you holding on to? And how can I help you release those? And that's a lot of what I did in solitude.
It's huge. I mean, that's the conversation with the ego. And again, for that woman, because I think that's one of the most important people to hear this message, is it doesn't necessarily have to be fixed.
No.
It's just sitting with it and creating awareness and space for it. You know, think about, like, I wrote this in this chapter. It's if you're a mother and your child is upset, I think our nature is, let me fix it.
Yeah.
They don't need that. They don't want that. Just sit with me. Just sit with me while I'm here.
Yeah.
Remind me that I belong, even in the shadow.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this work is.
So I had what I would consider wise elders. I call them butterflies, because I think of people who have been through the fire, like they've crawled into the cocoon and they dissolved what doesn't work, and then they turn themselves into a butterfly. So they went from a caterpillar to a butterfly. So I have a lot of butterflies in my life. And I identified them. I specifically looked at my friend group and I was like, you've butterflied yourself. You've butterflied yourself. And what that meant to me is I watched you go through a crisis and come out a different person. So you're somebody I want to lean into. So I went to my butterflies and
community.
in my community of incredible women. And I was like, what do I do? Help me. And I'm not going to lie. I was hoping somebody would give me an answer. But what a butterfly does is a butterfly says, I'll stand here with you as you crawl into the cocoon by yourself, because there's only one caterpillar in the cocoon, and you dissolve what doesn't work. And I'll be here when you come out.
Wow.
And
That's a good friend.
It's a very good friend. I had multiple people tell me that.
Because that person will know that you will change.
Yeah.
You will change. You will come out with boundaries. They know because they've walked through that too.
Yeah.
You'll come out with boundaries. You might come out a very different version of yourself, but they will still be there.
That's right. It was fascinating to me. I had a couple people say, think of me standing next to you, energetically holding you and putting a flashlight on your next step.
Lighting the way.
Yeah, lighting the way. And it was so helpful. So even in the solitude when I felt alone, and sometimes I was like, am I lonely? I thought, no, I'm here to get to know me. And when sometimes stuff would come up, like the rape and this pediatrician thing, and like stuff just started bubbling to the surface. I of course had a great mental health team of like trained professionals. But I also, like, you know what happened with the rape thing? Do you know how many people, when I actually could speak about it, said, yeah, that happened to me too. So I started to learn that as women, we're so powerful together when we're vulnerable with each other. But when we put on the facade, we're actually hurting each other.
Yeah. It's so important.
Yeah.
So important. Okay, so what I hear, there's community, and community is so important. And I'm curious if you see it this way. For the woman who has no community, and community is such a huge part of this, like when you are lost, one, I have found that you create that community when you show up vulnerable.
Yes.
When you go to the party or the social event, and instead of doing what I think a lot of us do, before you enter that door, who do these people need me to be? Who do I need to be in here? And like, just take that one brave, vulnerable, you're going to get a vulnerability hangover,
Yeah,
right?
of course. Yeah.
Say that one thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that one thing is like, oh, it's a party. I was kind of nervous to come, but I put on a fun outfit that I would never wear, and that made me feel good.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, what's that one courageous, vulnerable thing you can share about yourself? As silly as that happens, because that creates connection. Oh my God, you're human too.
Yeah. You'll be the most interesting person at the party. If you do that.
Yeah. So that's how we start to create it. And first, that anchor has to happen with that connection with ourselves. Through that, I love the dialogue with the ego chapter on that for reference, but this conversation I feel like has gone pretty deep into that. You create community in yourself, and then you start to become courageous or brave enough to be vulnerable around other people, and your community will find you. Yeah. Because you become a magnetic light when you're in alignment. So we've all been around that person that we're just like, I don't know what it is, I just feel drawn to you. Yeah. It's because they are connected to their true selves. Yeah. Right? That's how we start to forge that. Right. Also, just, I think there's great ways to create community, like going to workout classes. Oh, yeah. I know you're surfing, which we got to talk about.
Yeah. And so one thing I did in the solitude is I started going to yoga. And I went to yoga because I love it, but I also wanted the community.
So I think workout classes are a great way to start because you get into your body, you get into this beautiful place, and then you're around people doing something similar, and you recognize the same faces. Yes. Okay, so I want to now go back to maybe as we start to wind down a little bit, but I know this is one of our favorite parts. If a woman is lost and doesn't know where to start connecting with herself, the inner child, I think at some point, most of us had a version of us that was light and free and fun. And if we can remember bridging and going back to that, that is a great place to start. So I know you've gotten back to surfing.
Yeah. Well, so the story, to fill everybody in, I would say the first thing is make a date with yourself and start asking how you can have a relationship back with yourself, and then just listen for those answers. I definitely want to you don't have to have anybody around to do that. And you don't have to go away for 4 months. You can just do that in a room. But and I made a date with grief. Make a date with yourself to start to every day get to know what your body wants to give you signals for and tell you about. Okay. Then what I started to realize, I don't know if you feel like this, but this question started to haunt me. When did life become so serious?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why am I playing? And why does life have to be this serious? Like, why can't it just be more playful?
Mm-hmm.
And so then I started to think more and more about my little girl. And this has also come through a lot of therapy. I've been going back to my little girl. I think Age Like a Girl is a really fun title because it was on brand. It was the Like a Girl brand. But
Mm-hmm.
really, what I brought forward in that book is the idea that we should start to go back to the essence of who we were.
100%.
So I started thinking about things that I did. And one of the things, I was a really sporty kid and I loved every sport. And my family wasn't very sporty. And so there was a surrogate family that was like our best friends. And they were super sporty. And the dad would take me everywhere I want. He taught me to ski, he taught me all these things. So one day he says, Mindy, I want to take you out surfing. And I grew up in Malibu. I'm like, yes, I want to go surf. And so I went out there with this amazingly talented older man. I felt so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I get out there and there's a boy from my class out there that I like.
Mm.
His name was Chris O'Keefe. And
Hey, Chris O'Keefe.
we're just going to call him out. And he looked at me and this is in the 70s. And he goes, Mindy, what are you doing here? Girls don't surf.
Oh.
And I immediately shut down. And I remember when we got out of the water, I mean, surfing's so hard. There's a big learning curve. So it wasn't like I was catching waves on day one. I was just fumbling on waves and I felt stupid. And now girls don't surf. So when we left, I was like, I don't want to ever do that again. And so I never did.
Mm.
And it's interesting because my family over the years have kept trying to get me to surf. And I was very resistant and I didn't understand why.
Mm-hmm. That part.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I think, we hear a lot now. There's a lot of this like connect with the inner child and get back to that joyful time. And I think in a lot of these cases, it's going back to the moment before society told us, right? Because you think about our stories are very parallel. Mine's gymnastics, yours is surfing.
Yeah.
I was great at gymnastics. I would literally just daydream of like training alone with a coach. Like in here training every day, push me hours. That's what I would daydream in between sets. And I got really good and I made team. I was 11 and I was too shy and I quit. And so if someone told me, go back to what you loved to do as a kid, I wouldn't have initially thought gymnastics. But there was a piece of me when I would see people doing gymnastics, or I'm curious if this happened to you, see people surfing, that I was like, oh, but never me.
Yes. That's it.
That's how you find it, I think.
Yes.
Because that is the light and
Yep.
it got squashed. And when we go back and we light it again,
Yep.
it is like a reconnection and we're forging this path now together.
That's really well said because both my kids surf and a lot of our friends surf and they were always, my kids especially, were like, come on out, Mom. And I was like, no. And I didn't know why I was saying no. And so what happened to me after I just spent 4 months by myself and getting to know myself, getting to understand what my body was doing, really working on some of these traumas that I've talked about, is that a friend of mine who's another 7 on the Enneagram, she invited me to go out surfing. And I thought, okay, I'll try it. I'll go once. I went out. For starters, surfing has this huge learning curve. Now, I didn't go out and think like I'm healing this childhood trauma at all. I didn't even barely remember the trauma. And yet when I got on the board in the water and I got tossed around the water, I mean, salt water up my nose. And like, I was like, oh my God, I love this. I love this. And I suck at it. How could I love something I suck at so bad? And so I came out that day and I'm like, I want to go tomorrow. And she's like, okay. So we go tomorrow. And after a week of it, I'm walking around with this huge smile on my face. And my husband says to me, I don't think I've ever seen you so happy. And I realized it was like every day I got back in the water, I was grabbing my little girl back. And I was like, come on, what else do you want to do? What else did society tell you to not want to do? And like, I just kept bringing her back and bringing her back. And the first day I went surfing this year was on July 6th. I remember it. And today, we're in November. And every day I've been in Santa Cruz, I've gone surfing. Every day I go.
And you think about what you're bringing to any version of anything you're doing during the day. Like you said, you now play first.
Yes.
You play before you do.
Yep.
And how different. And I know it's been a journey to get back there.
Oh.
And I want to touch on for a moment the red carpet. And what I mean by red carpet is when we take these moves, when we trust that first step, when we say, yes, I'll go surfing, when we take that, in your case, the 4 months by yourself, which I know it isn't accessible to a lot of people, but maybe that brave first step is, I'm going to go in this room of people and I'm going to speak my truth in just a little way. I'm going to take a first step. I'm not going to worry about where it goes. When we take that brave first step, and we've talked about this, the red carpet, the magic carpet rolls out before you, and you don't have to think about the rest, and these things show up for you.
Yeah.
So what I hear in all that, if we can look at this in this way for a minute, because there's some science to what we're talking about, and there's some woo that is paired with science, but this is how we play, and it works every time. And I know you said a lot of your last year of life has been about surrendering.
Oh my God.
Because when you surrender, you always get better than what you even thought.
Oh my God.
And so I visualize in these moments where I'm scared to take that brave first step, all I got to do is take that brave first step, and the universe will provide. It's going to be better than I could have ever imagined. And so you took that time for yourself. Of course, surfing showed up.
Yeah.
Of course, someone was like, hey, come out with me. You didn't have to figure that out. It came to you.
Yeah.
And that's how this works.
Yeah. It's really true. Because a couple things like you said to me through the whole thing. I remember you said, because I was like, where am I going to live? That felt like a really big elephant in the room, because I couldn't go back to LA, and the house that my family home was so much chaos. I needed to stay in a calm. And you said, let the house find you. And think about what it is that you want to do. And so I did. It was a surrender. It was just like, I know the house I want. I want a California mission style home. I've always wanted one with an ocean view close to hiking trails. And that's literally what I got. Like sitting on the couch one day, I get a notification on my phone that this house is available. And it was exactly that. So you're there's something in the surrender.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to point out that really shocked me, and I think doesn't get discussed enough, is the minute you make a stand for yourself, you'll feel like shit.
That's important to talk about, because I think it's packaged like, oh, it's going to be so beautiful right away. Quite the opposite.
No.
Yeah.
So that's why I say that if you look at the time periods, the fires were in January. February to June, I isolated myself. July, I started surfing. So, but from February to June, I was going into that self-inquiry, and I was getting to know myself, and I was releasing traumas. And it's through that work of that connection to myself that allowed all these things to show up. But there were days that I would, we're redoing our marriage, my husband and I, and it took some really tough conversations for me to say, this doesn't work for me anymore. And I don't want to leave. I mean, literally what I said to my husband was, this version of our marriage no longer fits for me. And I only have one of two choices, to leave or to reinvent it. And I don't want to leave, but I can't do this version anymore. And part of it is, I don't know who I am in this version. And so he did not like that. I'm saying it to you in a very kind way. I think I bumbled through it when I said it to him. But, it felt like, oh my God, I'm hurting him. Like something about standing up for myself in what I needed in the most important relationship in my life, hurting my husband. I was like, I feel like shit, I'm hurting myself. But then I would have to say, like, a good friend of mine said, when you feel guilty, that's a sign you're standing up for yourself. So I had to redefine some emotions.
Well, this is a really important concept, and this is that part 3 of the book, staying in alignment.
Yeah.
Because we can talk about all these beautiful things, right? We go through the yuck, and we get to surf and play and have joy in our life, and we're connected to ourselves. Part 3, staying in alignment, addresses these things. Because as you have stepped deeper into yourself, it's not just in your relationship with Sequoia, right? Or you think about in any relationship for any person listening to this, where, I mean, this could be your friend, this could be your boss, this could be your parents, your siblings, where you're finally like, no more.
Right.
This doesn't work for me anymore. And this is a big part of reconnection with yourself.
Yep.
And so I didn't want to write this book and just show the glimmers. I wanted to say, okay,
Thank
what
you.
happens when
Yeah.
you actually become that butterfly?
Yeah.
Because things around you are going to change. They're going to have to.
Yeah.
Because what you could have done in that moment is you could have easily said, I don't want to hurt the most important person in my life, my husband. And so I'm going to fall back into misalignment
Yep.
to keep it safe.
Yep.
And this is how we stay stuck.
Yep.
And this is how we break through.
Yep.
Because like you said, you are now, I think you're calling it marriage 3.0.
Yeah.
You were on the other side of that. And not only did you get a husband and you get your marriage, but you get yourself.
That's right. Julie Gottman, the Gottmans are like some of the top marriage experts. I was blessed in this, like somewhere in the middle of this 4-month journey, to sit with her and a couple other, we were working on a project together, and I had a moment with her, and somehow it came up about what I was doing, you know, how I was healing myself. And she said, keep in mind that resentment builds when we say yes to things we really want to say no to.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, oh my God, I'm going to be really transparent. Like, I had resentment in my marriage. I had resentment with my kids. I had resentment with my team. Like with I had resentment about my career. And I'm like, what is going on here, Mindy? And then when she showed me that resentment is where I said yes to things I want to say no to, then all of a sudden I could start to identify that in the future decisions.
Yeah. I think our nervous system is the gateway to our intuition.
Right.
We are told as women we're intuitive. We're told we have this inner voice. Okay, how do I hear it again? I think while you're getting ready to hear it, you feel it. And so this is how you follow. I don't like the old path. I know I'm out of alignment. I know I'm lost, but I don't know which way to turn to find myself again. You feel it.
Which
you
is in your
follow what's
body.
the full body yes in your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you say yes to something that feels like a no, your body will tell you.
That's right. Well, so the benefit of my breakdown is I can actually go into rooms and go into places, and I can feel that anxiety, and I'm like, okay, body,
out.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. So like last Monday I woke up and I was really depressed, and I'm like, why am I depressed? Oh, Mindy, you learned that depression means that you're doing things that don't bring you joy. And then I looked at my calendar that week and I'm like, oh yeah, nothing on here is bringing me joy. It's all work related. And so I just rearranged the calendar. I said no to some things, and then all of a sudden, literally the depression lifted. This is, again, I want to be like, highlight this, you guys. This is such an important part of the conversation, because when we can lean into what feels good, it doesn't necessarily mean, okay, my day feels bad, it's packed, and that doesn't feel good to me anymore. And it may not mean that you can clear your schedule. That may not be feasible. But when we don't try to power beyond it, when we don't try to squash it down, when we lean in and listen, and like you said, create a conversation with it, and like the chapter with the ego, we start to realize what we can change. And maybe it's small. Okay, maybe I can't change how packed my day is, but maybe tomorrow I can have half an hour to myself, and I'm going to put my devices on Do Not Disturb. I'm going to promise myself that date with myself. Right? So no matter how realistic these changes are, we can start to carve that new path just by following what feels good. Yeah. I love that. But that's why I think you got to bring the body into it. 100%. Because otherwise it's all done in the mind. And I think the mind plays tricks on us, which is why when I was like, okay, body, tell me all the ways you haven't felt safe. Like, because the anxiety was so bad at one point, I'm like, talk to me, just tell me, because this is more than just the fire. This is more than TJ's death. Like, tell me what else you want to tell me. And it just started talking to me. You mean, and that's where the layers came out. Yeah. So would you say then, in situations, whatever it is, some challenge in your life, some challenge in the day, is it more important to fix and address the challenge, or to, I don't want to say fix ourselves because we're not broken, but to connect with ourselves, get into alignment, ask your body questions, and the rest will take care of itself? Yeah. And don't, I don't know if you do this, but don't be afraid to take shit off your calendar. And you might disappoint people. So somebody said to me at one point, learn to be a professional disappointer. And I'm like, great. Yeah. Like, what if you made it your purpose? Think about your goal to disappoint as many people as possible in a week, as opposed to the opposite of what we do. Right. And that's your path back to yourself. That's right.
And so everything that happens along the way, it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
here's the goal, and you don't know
Yeah.
which detour you're taking, but you're going to end
Yeah.
up here.
I
Yeah.
saw a really interesting clip. I love Chelsea Handler. I think she's funny. And the other day she said, "I'm not everybody's cup of tea." And I thought that has to be so freeing, as opposed to trying to wrap yourself up and be like, "Do you love me now? What if I
Right.
do this? Will you love me this? Okay, what
Right.
if I lose some weight? What if I dye my hair? What if I do something really nice for you? Will you love me now?"
And it's refreshing as that kind of person's friend. I think we all have friends that way, and you're like, I always know where I stand with this person.
Oh, always.
If I want
Always.
clear, is
Yeah.
this shirt cute on me?
Yeah.
They're going to tell me.
Yeah.
Because they don't care.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So let's all be a little more of that.
I think we have to stop trying to fit in. I also heard Brene Brown, and she's been out promoting her new book. And she said, what we don't realize is that in order to fit in, it requires that we belong to somebody else, not to ourselves. So when you're trying to fit in, it's the enemy of belonging to yourself.
Yeah, you're blending in instead of standing in your power.
That's right.
You're going into a group, and how can I match instead of who am I here?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think like the big piece that like is I keep thinking about where I sit in my life was that a part of me looks back at like my 40-year-old self, and I'm like, God, like if I could have given you some advice, it would have been,
What would it be? Yeah.
yeah, it would be like, really find yourself now. Find yourself now. Because one of the things that happens in menopause is, as our neurochemical armor comes down and everything is shifting, is everything we have pushed down starts to bubble up and say, hey, I'm here. Are you going to deal with me now? And I think that if I could go back to the 40-year-old self, I would say, you stayed alive for you. Prioritize you. Don't lose yourself to everybody else, because that was what broke me. It was the trying to please and fit in and do what everybody else wanted and make sure I didn't escalate the anger at all, like the codependency, like all of that. I was just like holding on. And then the universe was like, okay, we're going to take one of your favorite humans off the planet and we'll see how you do. And then, oh, we're going to take the place you want to live. We're going to burn that down. And then we're going to see how you do. That's what it felt like to me.
So you had nothing except yourself.
Yeah.
But because you didn't have yourself, you had nothing.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
I was just thinking about this now. It literally went through my mind after the fires. I had like a temper tantrum in my own mind of like, why can't I live there again?
I remember you pushing back and fighting it. And I was like, this or something better.
Yeah.
Like this is where community is important, because when we can't see it ourselves, we need the people on the outside. And you've done this for me, and my girlfriends do this for me. Yeah. It's this or something better. You wouldn't have Santa Cruz if that didn't happen.
And I wouldn't have found surfing, and I wouldn't have found this amazing house I'm living in. And every day I go in the water, I feel like I'm healing myself over, and I feel like something about going in. Somebody said that the rhythm of the water is like a mother's womb.
And the salt content is the same.
Yeah, the salt is the same mineral content as our blood. And I think putting my feet, this is back to the little self-care things you're talking about, my feet are dangling in cold water, and it resets your whole dopamine system. And my eyes are looking for the waves, and so I'm looking out on the horizon, and so my brain is like, oh, we can calm now. So I didn't, like, what is healing me right now is in the water, and I would have never found that if my neighborhood hadn't burned.
Right. And that's that trust piece.
Yeah.
It's sometimes we have to surrender and trust what's happening. My favorite part about all of that is I don't feel that you became someone else. This isn't a recreation. This isn't work. This isn't a to-do. This isn't how do I get there. You fell back into who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
So this was a subtraction, not an addition. Yeah. This is a letting go, not doing more.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's
make it easier.
Yeah. So I would say, you know who I have a relationship with myself, but I have a relationship with my little girl. I talk to her all the time. I'm like, what would I have done? What would you have done? And I think I told you this story. I know I did. When we first moved into this new house, it has a very steep driveway. And I looked at it, and because I was starting to cultivate this relationship with who I was, what was the energy of little Mindy, I looked at this driveway and I'm like, well, little Mindy would have gotten on a big wheel and she would have gone down this driveway. And so I turned to my husband and I was like, on my birthday, on my 56th birthday, I'm going down this driveway in a big wheel. And you know what he said? He said, oh, there's no big wheels that can hold adults.
So
I know. And he's like, I mean, you would need to wear a helmet. But like, he told me all the reasons why. And I was like, stop. On my 56th birthday, I'm going to get a big wheel. So I literally went to Amazon and I ordered a big wheel. I am not joking. I put stickers on it, by the way. When you come to visit, it's there to go down the driveway.
I'll ride it.
And I put my surfing helmet on, because we wear helmets out there when it gets crowded. There's a little bucket hat. And I went down, and it was so fun. And then his little boy started to kind of come out and play with me.
Invited him.
Yeah, because he's like, don't you remember, you got to turn the steering wheel to get it to really spin. And so a couple of tries, and it was so fun.
So fun. And there's a few things I see in that from the outside. So first of all, when you're so connected with yourself, it doesn't matter what society is saying to you. And this goes back to the beginning of our conversation, because society is out there doing society's thing. And for some reason, we translate that into whatever we take on.
Yeah.
And let's make Sequoia's voice in that moment society.
Yeah.
You know, we let the world tell us no.
Yeah.
And you're like, I got this.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
The other thing is that you inspire other people to do the same.
That's right.
At first they push back because that's our norm. But then look.
Yeah.
And that is how, dare I say it, that is how we change the world.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
For real, because it ripples through through our community. It's at least how we change our family. It's how we change the people that we're surrounded by. It's so fun.
And I don't know if you feel like this in your life right now. I'm now where I sit, I'm like, nobody's taking that little girl away from me.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I used to feel so guilty going to gymnastics on Tuesday nights. It's prime dinner time. I'm like, I have a date. I have a date with me. And also, if I need to weight it with something, the version that walks through this door when I come home is better than anything that they would ever get if I didn't go. So that's like, when I have that ego voice that's like, you shouldn't, you can't, I'm like, well, let's talk that out. Let's talk out the version they're going to get if I don't versus I do. Right. So I have that inner relationship conversation.
And I think if you can ask yourself, are you going to be resentful if you don't go?
100%.
Right.
And is that worth me even being here, or
is
away
that
for
what
an hour?
Right. Is that going to help your relationships if you keep turning away and turning away and turning away from yourself and doing the responsible thing?
Right.
So
Over
actually,
time.
actually, like, my goal now is to be as irresponsible as I can.
I love
like
it.
I literally am like, okay, what else can I do that's like my little kid would do, but an adult would be like, that's not okay. Like, I try to think about as many parts of her that I could bring back. I actually had, this is a fun story. I actually had the other day, I put a baseball cap on, and I looked in the mirror and I was like, I look like a little boy. And then I was like, no, my little girl had she was a tomboy. And I was looking in the mirror and I'm like, oh, I see her.
Oh, cool.
Like, I can see her in there. And it was like, I'm telling you, it has been the most profound experience, is bringing her back into my adult life. And just being like, you're welcome here.
Because the little girl versions of us were very smart. Like mine, I grew up being told I was very shy. I was never shy.
Yeah.
I was intuitive, and I was internal, and I was a daydreamer, and I let society tell me I was shy, and so I took that on.
Yeah.
I was never shy.
Yeah.
And so now I guard my internal time. Like I never have before. I say no to almost every event in the evening.
Yeah.
So I can be home and internal. And so I can have my morning internal time. Like that is my commitment to her, because in that, I'm like, holy shit, she was powerful. She knows.
Yeah.
You know?
Amazing. I love that. I love that.
All right. Yeah. I would love to just, I guess, as we wrap, ask you, you kind of touched on what you would tell 40-year-old Mindy or middle-aged Mindy. I think just bringing home some concepts here, like for the person who has sat through this interview and who has read the connection code and has probably read your book too, like, what do you think are some of the most important takeaways for them?
Well, I think first, to have a relationship with yourself. And for some, I think you've got to sit and actually in your own space and ask yourself what that looks like. Because some people might have amazing relationships and some people might not. The second thing that I would say is, start looking at these negative emotions like depression, anxiety, resentment, rage, irritability, and ask what they are representing in your life. because we tend, when we have a negative emotion, to blame it on somebody else or to blame it on a circumstance. I actually I forgot to tell you this. I've read a really interesting story the other day, or a statistic the other day about happiness, that they believe 50% of happiness is genetics. It's baseline happiness. It's what you were modeled growing up, and it's what might be in your genetic pool. 10%, only 10% is having your circumstances right.
Wow.
That's 60%. The other 40% is committing yourself to personal goals that are meaningful. Personal, not business. Personal goals that are meaningful.
So setting that North Star,
Yeah.
setting your compass to whatever the heck
Yeah.
you realize and get back to that you want.
Yeah. 40%
I
of
get
our
that, 'cause-
happiness is our connection to ourself.
That's huge, because you can't necessarily control the other,
No.
the genetic one.
That's right. And we're spending so much time and energy on the 10%.
Right.
It's only 10%.
Yeah, that's insane.
So I would say start that relationship now. And then if you have to, remove yourself from environment so you can get to know her. Make a date with her every single day. And then, what we've been saying, find your little girl. And I know a lot of people had really troubling childhoods, but I think the natural essence of children is play, and even in the most traumatic situations. So try to figure out who that was. Like yours was going more internal. Mine was playing baseball in the street with guys that were 6 and 7 years older than me, and I had this bravado about me, and I just wanted to go out and play because I like moving my body around.
Yeah, mine's gymnastics too. There's like a big play element, which we love to connect on. But yes, both. Yeah.
So find her, go find her and bring her back. What parts of her did you turn away from because you needed to be a responsible adult?
Oh, I love that. Oh, so good. Okay. Well, I think we've really covered it all.
I think we did.
Anything we missed?
No, I love it. I love it. And I enjoy, one thing I love about connecting with you is it's like I take an idea and then it just goes like this, and it just like grows. So I hope people had that for themselves in this.
Love that. I feel that way too. And I think the last thing I would add is that really at the essence, everything we've talked about here is not something outside of you.
Yeah.
And we've been taught, I'll say it again, self-care needs a rebrand. It is not the external. It is having the ability in any moment where we've lost ourselves to get back.
Yeah.
And that's an inside job. And it doesn't cost any money. It doesn't cost any time. We can do it anywhere. We can do it in the car with the kids. We can literally do it everywhere. And so I hope that's a big takeaway that people get.
Yeah.
Mindy, thank you for being here. You guys, thank you for being here with us. I would love to hear your feedback, any questions, any comments, and we'll see you next time.